where I have the red circle is the actual book drop-off point. And then Google Maps has this great thing now. They have this 3D view. So you can actually change the view of Google Maps of the viewpoint, and you can see all the different areas around there. And you can see pretty much entry and exit points of the area. You can see areas that may be hidden or shaded. And so that is all you see from that GPS coordinate on Google Maps. Now, when I mentioned earlier about the actual camera, so here I did a search on the actual model of the camera that came up after extracting a metadata. So when I extracted the data, it shows that this is the actual camera model. So I just simply took that camera model, I put it in a generic search, and from here comes up all types of information about the camera. So using this, I can search for vulnerabilities associated with that camera. I can also identify threats based on the date, and I can correlate that with the photo timestamp. So what I mean is, if I have a camera that shows up and it says it's associated with a model of a phone that was released 2 years ago, I can say, okay, now I can know when that particular photo was taken, and the actual model of the camera. I can look at the size of that photo and determine if there were any kind of modifications or if I'd done any type of any changes, I guess, to the camera itself, and I can use that to look at threats associated with that particular model. And then I can also use the camera, the generic search, to look at preloaded software configuration, right? So I know the model of the camera taken. I can guess the actual camera that was using the actual mobile phone, and then from there I can say, all right, well, what is the preloaded software configuration? And I can see what that preloaded software configuration is, and then through other tools, social media, presumably, I can see, all right, well, what type of applications am I using, all right? If I downloaded some third-party app to help me manage my Twitter followers or to post different stuff on, I can say, hey, Mo has downloaded a software from, I don't know, Thailand, and this is pretty much some bootleg software that was thrown out overnight, and he's using it, and the software has a ton of vulnerabilities that can be exploited. So this right here, you see in the top left is actually just an icon for a camera. In the middle, this is actually representing extraction. This is metadata extraction. And so here, what you can do is you can do location pattern analysis. And so this is pretty interesting. So when I took all these photos that I did over the couple months, starting in January, I was doing more than just capturing when I was dropping off goods of goodwill. I was just taking photos. I got hooked on Instagram and some other stuff, so you can forgive me. So when I was taking all these photos, I would take photos, like if I would go shopping, maybe I'd take a photo of me shopping at Whole Foods or Trader Joe's. And so from there, I could actually take those, extract the information from those photos, and I can map that out on a map and time stamp those. And I can say, all right, well, this is when I'm actually shopping at these stores. So now I know the location or the pattern of where I shop at. And then I can pretty much guesstimate, hey, I usually take a photo near Target or in Brentwood during this particular time of the month. Perhaps I'm grocery shopping, right? So maybe that's something that's reoccurring. So I've created a pattern that way. Simple latitude and longitude coordinates. This is good, but this is only going to provide a one case scenario for that particular event. Search for vulnerabilities. Now, this is one of the things that occurs quite a bit. So the ability to search for vulnerabilities that would affect that particular mobile device. So when you talk about Internet of Things, pretty much everyone here has a mobile device. A lot of people may have smartwatches. And so when you're using Bluetooth, maybe 2.1 and below, very insecure, using like Bluetooth, anything that's 2.1 and above, there are actual attacks built just for Bluetooth devices. Again, things that are internet connected. The other item is there's additional fields, caption, description, so additional items that you can put in the field of pictures when you're actually sharing them. So this right here was taken last year in November, and I used a tool called Maltego. Maltego is resident on a open source application software. It's called Kali Linux. Kali Linux is used for offensive security. So if you want to be, and you shouldn't be, an attacker, Kali has 200 plus tools for actually attacking. You can do things like you can Bluetooth capture, you can do Wireshark to look at network traffic, and you can do open source intelligence and a ton of different neat tools. And you can do SQL injection, stuff like that. So I took this picture in Kansas City, downtown, And so here they give latitude and longitude coordinates. That's good, right? So that's all I needed from this picture was the lat and longitude coordinates. Maltego has a great tool that actually you can run transforms on different objects. So what I did was I took the GPS coordinates and I posted it in here, and it basically gave me all the tweets from that geolocation. So I could do to and from tweets. So I took in there, I don't have the tweets, I'm not trying to go to jail, but I took the tweets and I did 50 meter, 100 meter, 150 meter, and 200 meters from that location. So people that were actively posting on Twitter and they had their geotags on, I could see who was posting in that area. Now, OWASP is the Open Web Application Security Project. OWASP pretty much captures all the different vulnerabilities that are out there. But they have a specialized, project, and it's the top 10. The top 10 vulnerabilities pretty much do not change after 5, 6, 10 years. These are pretty much the same vulnerabilities that are resident on most systems. So if you look at the top one, injection. Injection would be like SQL injection. So you're pretty much just hitting a database out on the web, and you're pulling tables and columns. And so in these tables and columns could be username, password, first name, last name, and then you could extract that data and capture that data. And then once you have that username or you have the email address, you can then run it with Maltego to do a more in-depth search. And so here, we're going to talk about digital footprint. So how many people here have at least one social media account? Show of hands. Got a lot of people here. How many people have 2? All right. What about 3? Oh my gosh. Okay, look at that. So digital footprint is important because a lot of people will use the same email and the same persona for a lot of their online accounts, right? You have a YouTube page. Maybe that YouTube page you have automatically because you sign up with your Gmail. So with Gmail, you have your YouTube, you have your blogger, you have your Google+, and then you're kind of lazy, so you're like, I'm going to use the Gmail for Facebook. Even though you say you're not inviting any work people, you're still using your Gmail. So with Maltego, what I did was I did a simple search on my first name and last name. That's all I did. So this at a high level shows tweets, it shows persona. You can do a sentiment analysis for people that are terrorists or extremists. And this is a pretty good search. So I just typed in Maurice Dawson, so first name, last name, and all the Maurice Dawson that came up on Twitter that had photos and didn't have photos came up. So these are all the Maurice Dawsons. I did learn something great from here. I did learn that pretty much Maurice Dawson in America is young and African American, and in the UK I would be an old white guy. So I did learn, something interesting. So here, you can see me here, I'm smiling or whatnot. So now I have my Twitter account. So from that Twitter account comes up my UMSO phone number. So now my UMSO phone number, from a simple search, I'm able to do a transform, and it pulls up and it scrapes the phone numbers. So now the phone number comes up for UMSO. What else you see? You'll see a YouTube page. You'll see WinRock, which is a page that we do at UMSO for having students volunteer. And then all these other pages come up with my name, my number, and my email. So this just shows a small picture of what actually comes up. Now this is going a little bit more in depth. And so here I can actually correlate and see which actual profiles are real. And once you click in one of these actual objects, you'll see more information. It'll say, this is a specific web address. These are the different items that are captured on the page. And so here, what you'll see is you'll see the phone number, you'll see the YouTube page, and you'll see the Maurice Dawson over here, the Maurice Dawson right here, and you can see it's both tied in to the YouTube page. I can also, I don't have it here, but you can actually look at, so say if I tweet and I post a tweet to someone, the software will actually look at those who are tweeting to me. And then with all those tweets, you can actually download all those tweets via a text file, and then you can analyze what was said in those messages. You can create word clouds. You can do sentiment analysis. I can look at the interactions and say, am I really a friend with this person? Or I may say, hey, maybe I'm trying to get attention from this person. Maybe I'm trying to, do something for like brand management or something like that. So here, just showing how detailed all the different interactions are. And it's all from one simple Maurice Dawson. And it's all from my UMSO email address. And this is what it shows. So I do have other accounts, and those other accounts are pretty much the same. And there's a number of websites that you can actually go to. So I can pull information, about me from UMSL, and there's a number of actual genealogy websites that look at all the public records that are out there, and you can put in the name, you can guess, the age, location, and then it'll put out all the different records, bought a house, been to jail, been divorced, been married, and then tons of that other information can be extracted from the site. All right, so for this, Maltego is free up to 10 transforms, which means if you run a search, only 10 results come back. Now, there are a number of other tools that are open source and free. So our language is a powerful language for like biostatisticians, big data, data science. R is kind of difficult to use if you're not a programmer, no worries. There is something called RStudio and Awkward, and Awkward and RStudio are pretty much integrated development environments that sit on top of R. So you can learn a few commands, or you get a cheat sheet, and you can actually run through these items to see exactly what is occurring within this text. Maltego Community Edition is what you saw there. All it is to do is determine relationships and provide link analysis. KNIME is used for enterprise reporting, business intelligence, and then Python is a high-level programming language. It's used a lot for data science. Probably, I think it's IEEE Spectrum ranked it the world's second most in-demand language, and Python is great because there's tons of libraries that are associated with Python. All right. So with all those items, so for those of you guys who are doing tons of stuff with social media, posting pictures, all that other stuff, it's important to realize that that is just from the social media piece, right? That is just photos and stuff like that taken, but you got to realize that there's a lot more stuff that actually occurred. So for an individual, so when I mentioned earlier about intelligence and in cybersecurity, how they meet, so say I'm posting all this information, right? The types of books or what I do. So from there, someone can pretty much guess, or they can make good assumptions on my actual behavior. They know when I leave the house, when I go to work, what I do, what I like. So imagine you have an online dating profile. It's like Match.com 3.0 or something like that, right? You have this online dating profile and someone says, I want to meet Mr. Perfect. Well, what is Mr. Perfect to this person? I could just go online, pull all the items that they like via their groups on Facebook, Twitter, and I can say, all right, well, this person likes this, they like coffee, they like Starbucks, they like this, they like that. And from there, I can create pretty much a page focused on just who they are and what they like. So it could be like focused marketing, but instead I'm using it for something that's bad. The other item is data is important. So recently we have privacy laws that have changed. So data is bad, though leaking your data is bad, and then allowing it to be shared more. So here I have a few recommendations. So mobile device, make sure you have an antivirus on your mobile device. Make sure you have trusted applications. A number of different applications can be uploaded to the App Store. Make sure it's a trusted application. You can also do something like source code analysis, which you probably know how to do, but it's not too difficult. But you can actually look at the code in the application and make sure it's secure and that it's not going to be causing any issues. Their new thing is not to have an application be vulnerable, but a group of applications. So maybe you download application A, has an issue. It's not bad because application A alone doesn't have issues, but when you download application A, B, C, D, then they're able to work together, they're able to correlate together, and then create an issue on your actual device. Device hardening. The government, if you go to iase.disa.mil, it's the Information Assurance Support Environment for the Defense Information System Agency. They have something called STIGs. STIGs stands for Security Technical Implementation Guides. And so these guides allow you to harden your mobile devices, your operating systems, whether it's Windows, Mac, a Linux distribution, and enables you to harden your devices. So, and this hardening is important because with a lot of companies trying to push out internet-enabled technologies, they are not hardening these devices. They're saying, hey, you want a crock pot? We'll add Bluetooth to it and they sell it to you. And you take it and you use it, right? But this device hasn't went through any formal security certification accreditation. The other item is check application authorizations. A lot of the applications that you use will ask for authorizations far beyond what they need in terms of for them to be able to operate. So if you have an illegitimate application and is asking for all these authorizations to maybe your phone log, maybe your Facebook or something else, is that application legitimate, and are they reaching beyond what they actually need for the application to work? Embedded device, scan the device for security posture. So for those that have a Nest, anybody here has a Nest? So make sure devices like that are embedded are scanned for security. Social media, easy items, remove your GPS tag, remove the metadata. There's a number of tools that you can use to remove metadata from pictures. You can pretty much dump your pictures all in one folder and then run a actual software application to remove all the metadata from your photos. Limit posting, revealing information. So if you're in a group or you have a group of friends that aren't really your friends, you just want to have a large group of people, just, I don't know, maybe you want to feel special, really limit what you share in those types of settings, because there are there are issues in terms of maybe friends of friends being able to see, or someone else being able to comment on a particular post and actually download what you said. Control your digital footprint. If you need to have a digital footprint for work, that's great, but create an extra persona and do not have that associated with you. So create a, control your digital footprint. Bluetooth 2.0 devices, they're insecure. Limit the use of Bluetooth. Do not leave your Bluetooth on all the time. It's not needed. And limit your pairing. All right, so I'm going to open it up for questions. I want you guys to think about questions that you may have that may relate to this particular presentation. So I think there's a microphone here somewhere. Oh, there's a microphone in the back. So you can put your hand up if you want to ask a question. All right, don't worry, he's walking behind you.
So I've recently read something about a mobile application that accessed the microphone of the phone and then would use the audio input to gather data on interests for either television shows that were on or conversations. So with that type of, well, you mentioned about analyzing apps and what you're given permission to, there's usually this long list of things that people agree to. What safeguards are there for people to avoid unsuspectedly, I guess, agreeing for something like that to happen?
Yeah, great question. The problem is, I think a lot of people don't realize that computing devices are more than just mobile devices. They are things like your smart TVs and things of that nature. So look at what you actually download. Look at the actual read the EULA, read the end user's license agreement, and look at if it's a trusted application or not. And then when you have the ability, you have that. And then also when you're looking at connected devices, make sure you have things set up like firewalls, your router, just your home router. Make sure that you update that, because there are zero-day vulnerabilities that come out that can attack that device right then and there. So there's a number of things like that. Now, in terms of being recorded or smart TVs, sometimes you just may not need to buy those devices, or be careful where those devices are placed at. Baby monitors are a great example. Those are very insecure. But devices like that, you really have to actually scan and be sure what you're looking at or using.
Hi, I'm Dennis Damon. I'm the Chief Privacy, Chief Security Officer. Great presentation. I love how you really sort of broke all this down. I guess the question I have, especially for this room, I'm kind of interested in your opinion. You know, the world seems to be going after privacy issues, right? GDPR and all these sorts of new privacy regulations. But if somebody with your background, I see that you have cryptography background from the U.S. Navy, what are your thoughts on any sort of regulations that may need to be put into play around security, like security regulations in general? Is it even worth it, considering how fast technology is moving, and would it have an impact on marketers, either positively or negatively?
Yeah, so with my background in the Navy, we were using cryptography to secure the nation, right? So from that standpoint, we're using it to make sure that data in transport and at rest was secure. The problem is with technology and laws, the laws are generally behind the technology. And then you have export controls that can hinder companies. So say you have a smart TV and it does have cryptography on it. You have export laws that you're not allowed to export that TV or something like that. But there's a huge issue in terms of usability is an issue. So a lot of people that use a device, they want to use it right now and then. With cryptography, it takes a while for it to be used, right? You have to decrypt maybe your hard, like my machine, right? I'll give an example. I have my hard drive encrypted, and then I have my home folder encrypted, and then I also encrypt messages in transit. Now, with all that, my computer doesn't run the fastest. So someone using my actual device, they're like, is something wrong? So there has to be a mind shift in understanding that with security, the availability may not be as what you're used to.
Hi, so I was just curious with the picture and the metadata, with the information that comes from that, does it have to be from the base source of the phone, or if someone sends a text to another person of the same picture, does that transfer as well over?
Yes, it does transfer as well. So that picture is embedded, the metadata is embedded in there. So that metadata stays in there no matter what, unless it's actually removed. So that becomes the issue as well. So say if I send you a picture of me and the kids and we're actually out somewhere in town and you just happen to keep sharing the photo, then everyone else knows exactly where I was at and all that metadata in there. Now, the other issue when we talk about, photos, and I talk about it here, is actually steganography, where you're actually, you're putting hidden messages in actual photos, right? So then you can actually do something called the hash. So you can hash the photo to see the size of the photo, the hash, the signature that's with it, and then you can compare it to see if it's actually legit or if it's been altered in any way.
Can you continue the thought bubble about manufacturers, specifically mentioned smart TVs? What point of view do you have on what role manufacturers should have or are taking to try to protect on these issues?
Sure. So one of the big issues in general is the lack of cybersecurity workforce. So if you look on a website called cyberseek.org, you'll see there's about 3,815 job openings in St. Louis for cyber. The state of California has 45,000 jobs, and the D.C. Northern Virginia Metro has over 47,000 jobs open. There's a lot of jobs where we're taking students to UMSL, but with that, you also have the battle for talent. So a lot of these organizations that were not thinking about cybersecurity at first are now thinking about it, but they're also struggling to get the talent they need. So when you think about like smart TVs, maybe there could be an option in the TV that actually allows the ability to either lock down that particular recording device, or something that pretty much segregates that actual device from the rest of the TV. So if it's not in use, maybe it's encrypted, or that particular part of the code is encrypted, so no one else can take advantage of that code. But these are all things that can be done. But again, it is the workforce that you would need to actually do that, and which is, that's not enough. So then you can, battle for talent.
Quick question here. So which digital browser would you say is probably the safest? And would you prefer to go incognito all the time if the answer is none of them?
First, I would ask, what are you doing with your incognito browser?
Same thing that you're doing, right?
Well, that is at 11 p.m. in the comfort of my own home. But there's DuckDuckGo. DuckDuckGo is great. So DuckDuckGo is a really good browser. It's on Tails. Tails is the operating system that Edward Snowden used. So you have DuckDuckGo, which is awesome. But the problem is, if you're used to having Flash or whatever run, or HTML run, or 5 run, it will not run all those items. It also blocks cookies from being dropped in your browser, so sites cannot know the screen size of the machine you're on. So if you look at the screen size of the machine, you can pretty much start narrowing down the type of machine that you're on. You have that, so you have DuckDuckGo. You can add a VPN service to a lot of your browsers as well, so to make sure your traffic is encrypted and you're always using HTTPS. Those are pretty much the better recommended. You can also use Tor. Of course, you don't know if you want to go into Tor sites, but Tor is pretty good. The onion routing. So those are pretty much the best. Waiting for the mic, right? I can hear you. Yeah, so everybody's familiar, you're probably familiar with the task manager, the Control-Alt-Delete, task manager comes up. And then I think in Linux is HTOP, which is the graphical interface that shows all the usage and processes and stuff like that. So Wireshark is a great tool, and you could run Wireshark on your network to see the network traffic coming in and out. So you can say, all right, well, what is my network traffic? What type of data is actually coming through? It's not user-friendly, so you actually have to understand what do various protocols do, but you can actually look at your network traffic over time. I mean, you can get a couple thousand packets in over like 2 minutes, but you can take that data from Wireshark, then dump it into a tool called RapidMiner, and then from there you can analyze that actual traffic and see kind of what is the norm, if there's been any changes. Is your neighbor using your internet, right? So maybe you have one of those great neighbors, and you can see pretty much what is occurring. And then you can look at timestamps of that actual network traffic. And I think I'm being kicked off. I'm being kicked off, right? Okay.